Hey Dusklight listeners, welcome back once again to the beginning of another 30 in 30, where I sound all energetic and happy, and in 30 days I won't, but that's okay. I love doing this. It's a great way to kind of keep myself sharp and to really work on my skills. Now, a little bit different. 30 in 30, this time is technically 30 in 60, and I'll explain briefly why. This is not going to be at the beginning of every video. We don't want repetitive intros, as we've learned, so we're not going to do that. So please pay attention. First things first, Vidith and I are going to be effectively trading our upload dates. So today I'm kicking it off, Vidith will take tomorrow, and so forth. But I'm going to be kind of doing this over the course of 30 uploads, and there's a couple of reasons why. I'm sure I'll end up missing a day or two due to burnout or illness, whatever, but we will get there. We will get there. And mainly, I don't want to burn out by doing every single day. Another reason being that I am traveling through June, so I want to have some content ready. You're going to see some guests on the channel as well, taking over every now and then, but it'll still be the Dusklight experience that you come to know and love. So please enjoy. I really hope you like what we're sort of going for here. We've got a few more exciting things coming up, and of course the Patreon has early access. Now, without further ado, I do have something special I want to share with you. So we are partnering up with your local Breadman, a phenomenal artist called Manny, who is going to be bringing Sturgeon and the Antlion series to life with some phenomenal drawings over the course of the next few months. I'll be sharing progress on Patreon starting tomorrow. Would love to get fan feedback, and you're going to see more of that coming onto the channel basically by the end of the summer. But until then, I do have a special campaign note from your local Breadman. Please check it out. So as you've seen there, there's a plushie campaign going on right now for Breadman. They are only 36% funded. It's just something I want to do. This is not a paid ad. It's just that they're a friend. They're working on stuff for Sturgeon, and I want to try and support where I can. If you have the ability, if you like the idea of the Breadman plush, please go over and check it out on plushifylab.com. I've got the link in the description. I've got some nice extra imagery here, and show your support. It's got to be funded by May 5th, so we've got another week. I would love to see that happen. You might see one more ad of this drop up. Again, it's not paid. It's just something I want to do for another artist. That's all. Thank you so much for joining in today, and enjoy today's video and the beginning of another 30 in 30. Have a great weekend.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jamie. This is my first time, so I'm sorry if I sound nervous. It feels a bit strange to just stand up and start telling my story to a room full of strangers.
Take your time. Try to remember, everyone in this room has been exactly where you are. You're among friends now. No one is here to judge or label, only listen. No one you see here will ever repeat a word.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I suppose a little background would be helpful. To understand why I'm here now on Friday the 13th, you need to know it's my birthday. I was born on a Friday the 13th, just after midnight during the worst storm of the year. My extremely superstitious mother didn't even want kids. But between her Catholic upbringing and Dad's actual desire for children, well, abortion wasn't an option. My family isn't from New York, but we lived in a tiny town I guarantee you've never heard of. Don't worry, I'm not going to bore you with a whiny rant about my childhood. I just want to convey that I was fully aware of the stigma surrounding my birthday from a young age. When I grew into an angry, rebellious teen, I decided to own that stigma. If it was unlucky for everyone else, it was good luck for me, and I made sure everyone knew it. If someone doubted me, I'd step on every crack, walk under every ladder, and pick up all the pennies on tails they wanted to drop. In reality, nothing actually happened. But when people are looking for signs, they tend to find them, even if they have to create them. Of course, the more attention I got, the more I wanted to pull my own stunts. I'd try anything. I'd steal from a teacher's desk, cheat on tests, or jump from the top of the monkey bars. Kids would watch me all day. If the final tally indicated bad luck, I made it into a big joke. If it was good, I thoroughly enjoyed a big round of pompous "told you so's." Yeah, I was a snarky little thing. Each year I grew a bit bigger and braver, but not necessarily wiser. My stunts grew out of hand when I was old enough to drive. I won't bother telling you about the countless times I almost went through the windshield, but I must have used a lifetime's worth of luck on that alone. Instead, I'll just skip to the scare that had a real impact on me. There are only 2 cemeteries in my hometown, one for the rich and one for the poor. The city council didn't want another graveyard in their fancy streets. If poor people wanted a cheap place to bury their dead, they would have to find space on their side of town. The only problem was, they were already packed in like sardines. Rows of shotgun houses lined every street for miles until there was barely a foot between the last one and the forest. Eventually, volunteers cleared the land to make room for a new cemetery, but free, unorganized labor rarely produces quality work. I wish there was time to tell you the full story behind it, but essentially, they did the bare minimum every step of the way. You can't blame them, they just wanted a place to bury their dead, but the end result was one extremely creepy cemetery. Since the first volunteers began the work near their own homes, they were very conscientious of how close the bodies would be. Wanting as much distance as possible, they cleared just enough space for a single-lane road before starting the real work. Today, that road is called Cemetery Drive. It's almost a mile long and has no street lamps. The whole situation made for a popular local legend. Back in the day, kids were dared to walk down Cemetery Drive with only a flashlight. But it was a little different by my teen years. Then, the challenge was to drive 10 miles an hour with the windows down and no headlights. So, on Friday, July 13th, 2001, that's exactly what I did. When 6 of us drove 2 cars out there, it felt like we were a big group. But I left my passenger behind with the others to do the dare alone. That was before smartphones or live streams. I could have cheated, but it gave me a rush to do this simple thing that terrified everyone else. The first half of the drive was exhilarating. The temperature was perfect, and the dim moonlight cast just enough glow to keep my car on the road. The trees were giant, looming shadows, swaying in the wind as if waving me on. As a skeptic, I felt safe in the knowledge that there were no actual ghosts, and now I can equate it to a VR experience. It was the thrill of being in a horror movie without the risks. Unfortunately, in my cliché, childlike naivete, I failed to understand how dangerous the real people around us were. I should have seen the cemetery gates any second, but I stopped at the sound of footsteps. I couldn't tell what kind, but I automatically assumed it was an animal. While listening, I realized it was walking at an unusually slow pace, even for something that was frightened. But if it's afraid, why is it coming towards me? That was my thought process as I sat there, squinting into the darkness. Finally, when gravel crunched not 3 feet away from my driver's window, I threw the car into reverse and switched on the headlights. My heart stopped mid-beat. There was a filthy, hairy man right next to me. He was dressed like a bum except for the night vision goggles, and he lunged for me as I mashed down the gas pedal. The car flew backwards, and I watched in horror as the guy's fingertips grazed the edge of my lowered window before falling away. When I couldn't see him anymore, I did the scariest 3-point turn of my life and never looked back. That night watered all the planet's seeds of resentment I'd collected over the years until they bloomed into thriving sprouts of hatred. But I didn't know how to ask for help. I thought the only way to make it stop was to move away and start fresh. Earning money was my only chance, and I didn't have 4 years to waste at some college just for the possibility of earning a higher potential. Besides, I'm not particularly gifted in the intellectual department. I'm sorry this is taking so long, but that was basically it.
No. It's your turn to speak. That's why we're here. You listened to Ray and Martha tell their stories. Surely, yours can't be any worse, can it? Trust us. This is the first step to healing.
Yes, sir. Of course. Right. So, I drove to New York with my graduation money and took any job I could find. I started flipping burgers during the day and bartending at night while living out of my car. 40 days later, I moved in with a guy from the diner when he was looking for a roommate, and life was pretty good for the first time in, well, ever. I didn't mention my birthday and no one asked. Over the years, when it became necessary to show my driver's license, it was rare for someone to notice the date on those occasions. I shrugged it off, saying I was born on a Saturday, and no more was made of it. I had a few relationships over the years, but nothing serious. I've always been happier alone, and it let me focus on work and saving money. At 25, I was able to afford my own studio apartment. It wasn't fancy, but it was a nice, normal building in a safe area. You know how rare that is. I'm so sorry. Would it be alright if I stopped for a minute? I could really use a bathroom break.
Yeah, I think we could all do with a little break. Tell you what, this big old building can be tricky to navigate for newcomers. Let's see if we can't get Mr. Sumter to show you the way. Bill, can you escort our friend to the bathroom, please? Wouldn't want anyone getting lost. Good. Take your time. We're going to stretch our legs a bit and freshen up the coffee. All right, everyone. Take 5. Feeling better now, Jamie. You seem to have regained a bit of color. Please, feel free to finish your coffee before continuing. We have all night. Oh, goodness, it sounds like the storm is getting worse, too. Well, all the better that we're settled in here, I suppose.
Yes, sir. Much better now. Thank you. So, I was really proud of that apartment, you know? I lived there for 5 years and was never once late with a payment. In fact, I was paying my rent the day the old manager had his heart attack. One second we were having our usual small talk. The next, Roger was grabbing his chest. I didn't know what to do. I called 911, but when they were loading him into the ambulance, it seemed wrong to let him go alone. He didn't have any family, so I told them he was my father. When the doctors left me in a waiting room, I went through his phone hoping to find anyone who could tell me what to do. That's when I came across Patricia Berman's name. I knew she was the building owner. We'd met a few times over the years, and she seemed like a kind lady. No matter what, she would need to know what happened. Our phone call was brief. Once I told her Roger was in surgery, she was there within the hour. That's how she was. She'd drop everything if someone was in trouble. We waited for 3 hours, talking about anything and everything to pass the time. As it turns out, she also lived in her car for the first 3 months after moving to the city. One thing led to another, and I emailed her a copy of my resume right there. She made arrangements to stay in town until Roger recovered, and she wanted to hire me at one of her restaurants. And that's when the doctors came to deliver the bad news. The old man had held on for so long, we just assumed he was going to pull through. Sadly, that wasn't the case. In the end, Mrs. Berman stayed on as a manager for 6 months, but she needed help. What started out as answering a few questions turned into me becoming the assistant manager. I quit my other jobs and poured my soul into learning everything I could from Patricia. There was no reason for her to give me that opportunity, but she said it was more important to find someone trustworthy. She believed if someone was really willing to put in the work, they could learn anything. The trick was finding a person still willing to work nowadays. Gosh, I admired her so much.
That's all right. You're doing great. Just take it nice and easy. We're all here for you.
Right. Anyway, after those 6 months, she started letting me handle the office alone while she traveled. Don't forget, she still had several other businesses to run. I've never owed someone so much in my life. Aside from a very generous salary with benefits, she let me move into a larger apartment for half its price. I'm sure you've all had bosses feed you the same bullshit line I'd heard 1,000 times before. We're a family here. Am I right? That lady, Patricia Breadman, you remember her name because she meant it. Life was too good. Disaster was around the corner. I just didn't know when or where it would strike. That fear never went away. But the years passed and I eventually became the manager. I even got upgraded into a 2-bedroom. Hell, I even upgraded my car. But I couldn't let down my guard. Sure, most people wouldn't think much of my used Nissan and lower middle class lifestyle, but they were my greatest achievements. If I never accomplished anything else, if I had grown old and died alone in that apartment, I would have died happy. For the longest time, I would lie awake at night, wondering when fate would realize I didn't deserve happiness and bring it all crashing down. Then, 3 months ago, Patricia decided to renovate one of her other complexes. They were still considered cheap by city standards, but they were the most expensive of the cheap places, if that makes sense. They were much nicer than mine, let's put it that way. The location wasn't better, but it wasn't worse either, and that's good enough. Most people in the city can spend their entire lives waiting for that kind of luck. I really did know better. Well, the point is that during the renovations, she discovered Margie's drug stash hidden in the office air vent. Maggie was the building's manager, by the way. So when Patricia said she needed an experienced manager, I tried to decline. That's how sure I was disaster was about to come for me. But then she included more money and a budget for an assistant. She didn't want to trust a property that large to a new hire. She preferred having me run that one while she trained someone new for my place. She even offered to throw in psych coverage to learn why I'm reluctant to accept good things for myself. Who could say no to that? Not someone like me, that's for sure. I decided just once I was going to enjoy my good fortune. Just once. The first 6 weeks were boringly standard. Patricia hired Lacey, a single mom, as my assistant. She'd already lived in the apartments for over 7 years and knew most of the other tenants. We got along well enough, but sometimes she needed to leave work unexpectedly or bring her son to the office. It made things difficult if we were busy, that's all. Peter is autistic, so I couldn't really complain without seeming like a heartless piece of trash, you know? Sweet kid, nothing against the kid. Any kid would have made it hard, but I'm just saying that because he's autistic, it would seem like that was my problem. So I didn't say anything. Honestly, if that was the price for my abundance of good fortune, great, bring it on. My apartment came with appliances, a digital thermostat, and Wi-Fi. I treated Peter like absolute royalty. I wasn't giving Karma anything she could even flinch at. But I knew it couldn't be that easy. Peter was a laid-back kid, and his high school was due to start back soon. He did alright around strangers as long as there weren't more than 2 or 3. Overall, things were better than ever, until 10 days ago, when that elusive other shoe finally dropped. I didn't even see it coming. It just randomly fell from the sky and flattened my sorry ass. The babysitter canceled for some reason or another, and I didn't even get to sit down before the kid was at my heels trying to show me a magic trick. It took me by surprise. Mornings were usually for his headphones and tablet, but he and Lacey were both flashing these proud, wide smiles as they waited for my yes, as if I had a choice.
When's your birthday?
It was almost a whisper. I just wanted to get some coffee, so I told him 8/13/82 and didn't think twice about it. I couldn't even remember the last time someone asked. Apparently, the kid is able to tell what day of the week any date is, even a future one. Well, his little eyes went wide, and sure enough...
That's the bad day.
Oh, I knew it, and I said so. Yep, it sure is, little man. Can't get much worse, can it? Oh, wait, yes it can. I'll bet you didn't know it was at midnight or during a terrible storm, did you? Huh?
Whoa, easy there. That's all in the past now. Do you need a moment? It's okay if you do.
No, sir. I'm just ready to finish this. Then I want to chain smoke a whole carton of cigarettes.
It's just us old night crew dogs here. I think we could get away with letting you have a smoke. We'll call it a reward for how well you're doing.
Really? That actually would be a huge help, so long as I wouldn't be getting anyone into trouble.
No trouble at all. You guys sit tight, and let me see what I can rustle up.
Wow. Thank you, Father. I hadn't realized how badly I needed this.
I told you, Jamie. That's what I'm here for. My only job is to help you process what's happened with as little trauma as possible. Now, when you're ready, feel free to continue at your own pace.
You're a good man, Father. Better than a place like this deserves. But I'm ready now. Basically, I made a fine ass of myself snapping at the boy like that. It felt even worse when Lacey agreed with how ridiculous the superstition is, and Pete had already lost interest. I was beginning to think the city people wouldn't care about a silly date the way the country bumpkins do. I was so ashamed of yelling in front of the kid. I started sharing my whole life story with his clearly annoyed mother. I told her about my superstitious upbringing, the kids at school, and what ultimately happened on Cemetery Drive. She seemed unsurprised about the children's reactions, but repulsed by the adults' behavior. Friday the 13th is something she'd always thought of as a game. I don't think she was capable of understanding how serious some folks take it. That's why she didn't see anything wrong with telling her friends about my little breakdown. Still, there's a reason hotels and planes don't use the number. It's not because they're afraid of bad luck. It's because they don't want to hear the customers' incessant bitching. By the next morning, everyone in the complex knew, and Lacey had a front view of the carnage. To be fair, she tried to intervene at first. Each time someone came in to gawk, she sent them away in a less than gentle manner. Sure, it wasn't every single person, but it was at least 70% that would quicken their pace or suddenly become very busy with their phones. Anything to protect themselves in case I had the audacity to attempt conversation. If someone did speak to me, it was a child, and a horde of their friends were always nearby, pointing and giggling. Talking to the Jinx apparently meant 7 years of bad luck, which made for a wildly popular dare. If I had less to lose, I would have given those kids a real reason to be afraid. But my options were rather limited. I had to settle for completely ignoring them, which only made the little shits braver. They started throwing rocks and covering my car in toilet paper. I even got a ticket because they covered my tag, and I left without noticing. I came home furious. This was Monday evening, and the whole miserable week was ahead. I was dreading my birthday to the point I decided to call Patricia and tell her everything. After the groceries were put away, I sat on the couch, finger hovering above the call button, when I heard a noise coming from my bedroom. I had started keeping a golf club handy and crept down the hall with it. Pausing at the entrance, I heard my closet door click softly shut. My first instinct was to pretend I hadn't heard and text 911, But then I began to analyze the situation. I believe the intruder was one of the kids who vandalized my car and wanted to deal with them personally. With the assistance of a shotgun app, I stepped into the room, trying to sound intimidating when I made the pumping noise, and yelled, "If you come out with your hands up, I won't shoot through the door." I crept closer, golf club raised and ready. I didn't intend to hit the kid, but I wanted to swing it over his head, just to give him a proper scare. Then Darren walked out, hands raised and shaking with a piss trail running down his pants. That dirtbag was almost 20 and still in high school because it took him 3 tries to pass each grade. Don't misunderstand, I'm not mocking him for being stupid. That's not what made him a dirtbag. Oh, his personality did that. Darren was the epitome of bully cliches. He treated everyone like shit, even his parents. I can't tell you how many times he was brought home by police, or I saw him torturing some other kid around the complex. His behavior grew worse every year. It was only a matter of time before he really hurt someone. When he saw I didn't really have a shotgun, his pale, frightened face turned to one of rage and embarrassment. He glared at me with a scowl of pure hatred. I know the look well since I'm usually the one giving it. I was so angry my chest went tight, and it was suddenly hard to breathe. I wanted to scream, but he opened his mouth and pushed me past my limit. "I should have known! If a jinx like you had a gun, you'd have blown your own head off by now!" The urine-soaked shit screamed indignantly. I couldn't take it anymore. I screamed something to the effect of, "What the fuck are you doing in here?" I don't understand how he had the balls to do anything short of begging me not to call the police. Instead of answering my question, he tried to walk past me. He was gonna leave and just get away with it. Then I knew what would happen if I called. He would already be at home, and his parents would simply say he'd been there all night. It wouldn't matter what the cops believed or how much they hated Darren. Without physical evidence, he won. All the rage I'd been holding back exploded. It felt like I was watching everything in a movie. Suddenly, the club was swinging through the air and it connected with the back of Darren's head. Bright red blood decorated the wall, ceiling, and my face. I was surprised by how wide the spray actually was. It didn't seem like so much could come from one impact. On TV, the kid would have been dead already, but he started groaning almost immediately. The bastard didn't even get to his feet before he started threatening me again. He was cursing me like a dog, saying I'd be in jail when he finished telling everyone how I drugged and kidnapped him. Next thing I knew, the club was swinging again. When I finally came to my senses, it was too late. He was gone and the whole room was wrecked. I think he tried to get away at one point. I have flashes of him trying to pull himself up on my dresser, and I swung high, breaking the mirror instead, but eventually, I didn't miss. All that was left was a pile of disfigured meat and bone on a wet, red floor, and my vomit. 20 scenarios played through my head as I thought of how to explain myself. There was no way to involve the police without going to prison. Trying to get away with it was my only choice. That no one heard the screaming was a miracle unto itself. I took it as a sign and started to clean up. First, I filled 2 trash bags and took them to my usual dumpster. I didn't want to be seen making multiple trips back to back. And when I took 3 more several hours later, it was in the opposite direction. If the kid ran his mouth about what he planned to do, I didn't know how long it would be before someone came looking. But I couldn't panic. Every 2 hours, I flushed small slices of organ and blood down the toilet. There was just so much. You wouldn't think there could be any blood left in the body, but I was washing it down drains most of the night. I packed the bones in a tote for a weekend camping trip. Anything left by them would go to the wildlife. If everyone could have simply left me alone, the last traces of Darren would have been gone when I came back from holiday. The world is a far better place without him anyway. I'm not some psycho serial killer. I'm not some wild animal who got a taste for blood. I just want my life back.
Hey there. Take it easy. Remember, slow, easy breaths. This is why you're here. If you don't tell us what happened, we won't know how to help. Believe me, Jamie, all we want to do is help. You've done so well and come so far. Please don't quit on us.
Yes, sir. I don't understand what happened next. I didn't have time for work, but my birthday was coming up and I had all these vacation days saved. I knew everything would be okay if I could only make it through the weekend. I sort of guilt-tripped Lacey a bit to make her more agreeable, but it was an emergency. I had no choice. Everything was going according to plan on Wednesday and Thursday. But today, shit. Of course it would be my birthday, wouldn't it? I was making another dumpster run before the public restroom rounds when Patricia called. She wanted me to stop by for a special birthday lunch. I couldn't say no either. She knew damn well I didn't have any other plans, so I cleaned myself up and went there instead. I poured my entire being into holding myself together for the visit. I didn't want to disappoint her after all she'd done for me. When I got there, she had my favorite cake waiting, and I almost broke. But I didn't. I held it together for her. It happened when she was standing over the cake, knife in hand. She got a funny look on her face. It was like her left side stopped working, and suddenly, she was falling forward. I didn't even have time to get out of my chair. The blade. It went into her. There was so much blood. I can't. I didn't know what to do. Who would believe me? Me. I pulled the knife out. I wanted to save her. But I saw it in her eyes. She was gone, man. Gone. I don't remember what happened next. I really don't. Suddenly, the police were there, and they said someone called them because of all the screaming, but that's a lie. Patricia never screamed, and I said so. Then they tried changing their story to say I was the one screaming. Can you believe that? I tried to tell them what happened, but they wouldn't listen. They wouldn't even let me speak. Next thing I know, they're throwing me in here. And I just wanted to go home.
Yes, Jamie, I can certainly understand your frustration. Also, I'm terribly sorry, but it seems like we're out of time. You remember Mr. Sumter, yes? He'll escort you from here. We all wish you the very best.
Wait. What? Hold on. It's Bill, right? Please, don't put your hand on me. I can... Wait, what's going on? I'm not finished. Father Paul!
All right, great work, everyone. I'll see you back here on Monday morning. This is Special Agent Paul Clark, and that concludes Experimental Interrogation Technique 037 on subject Jamie Reynolds. Test results: success. Detailed summary. Though the subject was hesitant to participate at first, witnessing two undercover officers confess to similar crimes without repercussions seemed to put the subject at ease. The vital component is believability. The subject must be induced to the controlled environment as early as possible after detainment. Furthermore, the addition to thunder ambience did seem to have positive effect on the subject's willingness to remain. While the subject did not confess to the murder of Patricia Berman, the subject did confess to the murder of a young man who was thought to be a runaway. When the autopsy revealed Miss Berman died of natural causes, a murderer might have been released back into society had it not been for this special technique. Records indicate the deceased was ill for a long time, but had apparently not shared the news with those close to her. Though, after reviewing her messages, we believe this to be the reason the subject was invited to her home this morning. It is a shame how many killers will walk free when this method is eventually ruled unconstitutional to utilize on citizens. Regardless, it will still see plenty of use, but further studies are required before false confessions can be guaranteed.
Most heartfelt greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. I eagerly welcome you to Sturgeon's most premier station, Dusklight Radio, hosted by yours truly, the effervescent, ethereal, and immersive Everett J. Blackwell. This phenomenal tale of confessional criminality was written and crafted by friend of the channel, PageTurner. You've already seen some Dusklight originals from PageTurner, and this will not be the last. Please show your love for PageTurner in the comments, and check out some more of their work linked at the end of this video. Special thanks goes, of course, to We Try Horror for his phenomenal editing on this broadcast. I'd also like to throw out a thank you to Vidith22 for providing extra voices on this project. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out some of our other transmissions. We're adding them regularly, and we'd love to have you as part of the Dusklight family by subscribing, hitting the bell of snakes, and you guessed it, more snakes, and leave a comment with stories you'd love for my many-legged runners to find. Now, I want to thank all of our patrons for making this possible. If you want to sign up, it's as little as $1 a month, and you get exclusive content, early access videos and stories, updates, and more. But times are tough, and we will always be grateful for support no matter what form it comes in. Financial, spiritual, corporeal, maniacal, whatever you want. It really helps us out. Dusklight gives thanks to our Purple Crayon Eaters, Creature Creations, Kid Kiriyama, Emma, Aiden, Becky Sinani, Rory Shamba, Camilla Roca, Oliver Yourface, Suds, PV69, Desert Bluffs, Justy Blue, Paul J. DeSena, Darkness Within, Christian Hatting, Calculi Zero, Mothman, Orphan Yuka, Okami-san, Ian Hancox, Echo Kane, Gail Alstad, Alex, Candyman Gloving, Ashabel, Phi, Max, and Feeny Von Karma. Our janitors, Isabel Vladislaus, Mima, Razzie Berry Pie, Ryan Moore, Ressery Cardwell, Brianna Elliott, Darktail, Kenza, Oliver Topolug-Natale, Alex Hansen, Allie, and a special shout out to someone joining the crew in Art Nightborn. Art spends his nights taking people around Sturgeon in his yellow cab. I guess Art needed extra money, especially in this economy. DJ Muffin, Shane Lewis, Ducks, Joy Flint Healy, Sabiel Eclipse, Death 31, Heather Cayley, Adrian R., Amy, Arkham Cookie, and Alex Nunez. Our Nightmare Detectives, Kikuhime 1202, Halo Davis, Mama Chewy, Melanie S., and Fox Clifford. Our Void Walkers, Domaine S. Silvers, Rat Squash, and Professor Creepypasta. Now, you will meet more of our new Blackwell family members in a future upload, but for now, let me run down the list of who we've got. Our new Blackwell members marching their way into town are Sabrina Blackwell, Biggie Blackwell, Aphrodite Blackwell, Wojciech Blackwell, Olivia Blackwell, and Mike Blackwell. You'll learn more about these fascinating new members of our family in an upload very, very soon. Then, of course, there is Great Uncle Ven Blackwell with his forbidden knowledge, Izzy Blackwell, our resident bug devourer, TJ Blackwell, who seems hell-bent on stealing the spot of our janitor supremo and his purple crayon stash, Delira Blackwell, our new resident physician and provider of pestilence pills and poultry, Adela Blackwell's firebending and illusions and grand waffling, Ethan Blackwell, abyssal fisher and repo lord, Jackal Blackwell, head chef and mystery meat purveyor, Clue Blackwell, the chrysalis of unknowable horrors, Tabitha Blackwell, void water baron and forever frenemy to our last entrant, Papa Kyle Blackwell, from his tower of bones, broth, and spines, preparing the outer gods to recognize his claim alongside his hobo queen and little inheritor of the bone throne, who is already 2.5. We love and fear you, Papa. We thank you humbly for your patronage and look to see you bright and early for Dusklight orientation. Purple crayons and existential dread will be provided. And one last time, listeners, close your eyes and breathe with me. Remember, no matter how bad things are, how cruel people can be, and how heavy your shoulders may feel with the weight of the world bearing down on them, Dusklight will always be here to lift the load and provide you with some respite. Drink some hot cocoa with chocolate sprinkles and fat marshmallows. Have all the Christmas candy you can manage, watch a video about liminal spaces and cryptid sightings, and sleep on the cool side of the pillow with the window open and the stars twinkling down on you. Start and end each day with kindness in your heart. You matter, you are loved, and every day is another chance. I'll see you again when the sun sets and dusk enters the station.